Hey everyone, welcome back to another Reactions with Erin video. I've been filming videos and I haven't really done an intro, so this is like my fifth video to film tonight, fourth I guess. And yeah, I'm finally doing my little intro thing. So first off, sorry if my eyes look weird. I just took some allergy medicine. I'm house sitting for some friends of ours, and they have some cats that are really nice cats, but like there was hair in the air and I think it's kind of irritating my eyes, so hopefully that resolves itself quickly. And I also wanted to remind you guys that Christmas music is coming starting December 1st, which is Wednesday, I think. Yeah, Wednesday. So be looking for that. And the other thing. Oh, I'm going to be posting 2 videos a day starting December 1st. One, a regular, any time of the year kind of song, and the second, a Christmas song, with the goal at the end of the year being to have 500 subscribers. I'm currently at, I think, 426, so I don't think it's impossible to say I can possibly get to 500 by the end of the year. That's what I'm hoping for, but even if I don't, I'll still have a good time reacting to songs, and I can say that I tried my best. So, yeah. But that's the goal. 500 by the end of the year would be awesome. So, yeah, let's get into this song that I'm going to react to. This is The Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald by Gordon Lightfoot. And I did, what was it by him? If You Could Read My Mind. Beautiful song, very reminiscent of like a Jim Croce, Harry Chapin style song. So, yeah, let's do this. 3, 2, 1. Very different sound. This does not sound like If You Could Read My Mind at all.
The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagumi. The lake, it is said, never gives up her dead when the skies of November turn gloomy. With a load of iron ore, 26,000 tons more than the Edmund Fitzgerald weighed empty.
He's got a really good voice.
That good ship and true was a bone to be chewed when the gales of November came early. The ship was the pride of the American side, coming back from some mill in Wisconsin. As the big freighters go, it was bigger than most, with a crew and good captain well seasoned, concluding some terms with a couple of steel firms when they left fully loaded for Cleveland.
This is a story song. I've heard this is a real event that happened. So I'm looking forward to the research at the end of this song to learn some of the history behind this event.
Then later that night when the ship's bell rang, could it be the north wind they'd been feeling? The wind in the wires made a tattletale sound, and the wave broke over the railing. And every man knew, as the captain did too, 'twas the witch of November come stealing. The dawn came late and the breakfast had to wait when the gales of November came slashing. When afternoon came, it was freezing rain in the face of a hurricane west wind.
This is a good time of the year to be listening to this song because they keep talking about things happening in November, which it currently is November, so yeah, wow. Have a feeling things are going to get serious.
time came, the old cook came on deck saying, fellas, it's too rough to feed you. At 7 p.m. a main hatchway caved in. He said, fellas, it's been good to know ya. The captain wired in, he had water coming in, and the good ship and crew was in peril. And later that night, when his lights went out of sight, came the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Does anyone know where the love of God goes when the waves turn the minutes to hours? The searchers all say they'd have made Whitefish Bay if they'd put 15 more miles behind her. They might have split up or they might have capsized. They may have broke deep and took water. All that remains is the faces and the names of the wives and the sons and the daughters.
So sad.
Lake Huron rolls, Superior sings in the rooms of her ice water mansion. Old Michigan steams like a young man's dreams. The islands and bays are for sportsmen. And farther below, Lake Ontario takes in what Lake Erie can send her. And the iron boats go, as the mariners all know, with the gales of November remembered. In a musty old hall in Detroit they prayed in the Maritime Sailors' Cathedral. The church bell chimed till it rang 29 times for each man on the Edmund Fitzgerald. The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagumi. Superior, they said, never gives up her dead when the gales of November come early.
It's haunted. Wow. Go. The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitche Gumee. The lake is said never gives up her dead when the skies of November turn gloomy. So you think about this time of the year. There's not too many hours of daylight. Where I live, the sun doesn't come up until about 7:30, and it's going down about 5:30 or 6. So this time of the year, we're in darkness quite a bit. It can cause seasonal issues for some people, mental health wise, and sometimes it can just straight up be dangerous for travel. And that's the case with this, in this case. With a load of iron ore 26,000 tons more than the Edmund Fitzgerald weighed empty. The good ship and true was a bone to be chewed when the gales of November came early. The ship was the pride of the American side, coming back from some mill in Wisconsin. As the big freighters go, it was bigger than most, with a crew and a good captain well seasoned. Concluding some terms with a couple of steel firms, when they left fully loaded for Cleveland. Then later that night, when the ship's bell rang, could it be the north wind they'd been feelin'? The wind in the wires made a tattletale sound, and the wave broke over the railing, and every man knew, as the captain did too, 'twas the witch of November come stealin'. The dawn came late, and the breakfast had to wait, when the gales of November came slashin'. When afternoon came, it was freezing rain, in the face of a hurricane west wind. When supper time came, the old cook came on deck, saying, "Fellas, it's too rough to feed ya." At 7 p.m. it grew dark. It was then he said, "Fellows, it's been good to know ya." The captain wired in, and he had water coming in, and the good ship and crew was in peril. And later that night, when his lights went out of sight, came the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. So lights went out of sight. I don't know if that was caused by like a fog or like by just it being dark. Or it could have been a failure of the light source too. Does anyone know where the love of God goes when the waves turn the minutes to hours? The searchers all say they'd have made Whitefish Bay if they'd put 15 more miles behind her. They might have split up, or they might have capsized. They have broke deep and took water, and all that remains is the faces and the names of the wives and the sons and the daughters. Like Huron rolls, Superior sings in the room of her ice water mansion. Old Michigan steams like a young man's dreams. The islands and bays are for sportsmen. And farther below, Lake Ontario takes in what Lake Erie can send her. And the iron boats go as the mariners all know the gales of November remembered. In a musty old hall in Detroit they prayed. In a rustic old hall in Detroit they prayed. In the Maritime Sailors' Cathedral, the bell chimed in till it rang 29 times for each man on the Edmund Fitzgerald. So one rang for each person that died. The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitche Gumee. Superior, they said, never gives up her dead when the gales of November come early. Wow. This is a factual retelling of a shipwreck on Lake Superior in November 1975 that claimed the lives of 29 crew members. Wow, I was thinking, maybe it's just because of Titanic, I was thinking this took place in like that era, but this song came out in 1976, so this was actually a fairly recent event when it came out. On November 10th, 1975, so the anniversary of this was just a few weeks ago actually, the SS Edmund Fitzgerald broke in half and sunk in Lake Superior. The storm she was caught in reported winds of 35 to 52 knots and waves anywhere from 10 to 35 feet high. Holy cow. She was loaded with 26,116 tons of taconite pellets at Burlington Northern Railroad, Dock Number 1. Her destruction was Zug Island on the Detroit River. There were 29 crew members who perished in the sinking. In the U.S., this held out the #1 spot by Rod Stewart's Tonight's the Night. This was nominated for Song of the Year Grammy, but was beaten by Barry Manilow's I Write the Songs. I love Barry Manilow. But this song should have gotten Song of the Year. Paul Gross hoped to use this tune for his episode on the TV show Due South, Mountie on the Bounty. He discreetly tried to secure the rights to use the song, but out of respect for the families who wished to not be reminded of the tragedy, he didn't pursue the option aggressively. He instead wrote the similarly themed song 32 Down on the Robert Mackenzie. Ohio-based Great Lakes Brewery produces a beer called Edmund Fitzgerald Porter. In 1970, baseball commissioner Bud Selig's co-founding partner in the Brewers was fellow Milwaukee businessman Edmund B. Fitzgerald, a patron of Milwaukee arts and civic projects, and son of a family that owned Great Lakes shipyards. In 1958, the freighter SS Edmund Fitzgerald was named for Edmund B.'s father, Fitzgerald. Later became a professor at Vanderbilt University. An initial investigation suggested that the crew was partly to blame for the disaster by not securing the ship's hatches. Lightfoot's song reflected the original findings in the verse. At 7 p.m., a main hatchway gave in. However, in 2010, a Canadian documentary claimed to have proven the crew of the ship was not responsible for the tragedy. It concluded that there was little evidence that failure to secure the ship's hatches caused the sinking. Lightfoot said he intended to change it to reflect the new findings. I'm sincerely grateful to Yap Films and their program, The Dive Detectives, for putting together compelling evidence that the tragedy was not a result of the crew error. He said in a release, "This finally vindicates and honors not only all the crew who lost their lives, but also the family members who survived them." Lightfoot recalled the story of the song during a Reddit AMA. The Edmund Fitzgerald really seemed to go unnoticed at the time. Anything I'd seen in the newspapers or magazines were very short, brief articles. And I felt I would like to expand upon the story of the sinking of the ship itself, he said. It was quite an undertaking to do that. I went and bought all the old newspapers, got everything in chronological order, and went ahead and did it because I already had a melody in my mind. And it was from an old Irish dirge that I heard when I was about 3.5 years old. Okay, I can definitely hear like the Irish music influence. I think it was one of the first pieces of music that registered to me as being a piece of music, he continues. That's where the melody comes from an old Irish folk song. Lightfoot wrote the lyrics after coming up with the melody and chords. He recalled when the story came on television that the Edmund Fitzgerald had foundered in Lake Superior 3 hours earlier. It was right on the CBC here in Canada. I came into the kitchen for a cup of coffee and saw the news, and I said, that's my story to go with the melody and the chords. In a 2015 interview with NPR's Scott Simon, Gordon Lightfoot explained that the article he read in Newsweek about the tragedy was short shrift for such a monumental event. Lightfoot says the song came about when he discovered the newspaper writings kept misspelling the name of the ship, rendering it as Edmund Fitzgerald rather than Edmund Fitzgerald. Though he didn't say whether or not the misspelling was deliberate, he was quoted as telling Scott, "That's it. If they're going to spell the name wrong, I've got to get to the bottom of this." This is referenced in the Seinfeld episode Andrea Dona, when Elaine mistakenly believes Gordon Lightfoot was the name of the ship and Edmund Fitzgerald was the name of the singer. Jerry quips, "Yeah, and it was rammed by the cat Stevens." Oh my gosh. All right, so that was Wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Thank you for suggesting this song. Thank you for watching this video. Erin out. I will see you guys soon. Talk to you later.